Sorry, everybody, we're having an audio issue here, so I am going to put on some music and straighten it out.
Safety Show has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
Yeah, we're back. Minor audio issue. We had it resolved, God willing. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody enjoyed their Monday. I know we did. Monday is kind of rough. It's usually my travel day to where my travel day to from where I was to where I am going. So here we are in OSHA Region 3, still broadcasting. Later this week, we're going to be at our preferred location. I'll leave it at that. A lot of news out there. A lot of news going on. Well, what do you mean, Jim? A lot of news. A lot of news. A lot of stuff going on. And we're going to start off in a very surprising location. Well, if you're a regular listener, you shouldn't be surprised. If this is the first time you're listening, you're going to be surprised. On a first-time listener. So what are we concerned about here? What do we talk about? We talk about safety in the news, and basically whatever interests me. Well, we have a priority on safety, but today we talk about politics. Sometimes, usually, if we have an hour or two, or if it's related to safety and social issues. We talk about nothing too divisive here, at least for me. So this afternoon, I'm doing my thing, doing what I need to do, working on a project, and comes across the news feed, Ozzy Osbourne has passed away. Pardon me. And I was like, man, he just gave his farewell concert a couple weeks ago. I hope that didn't really negatively impact their health, because I know people with very chronic and very severe illnesses like him, without Parkinson's, very painful towards the end, especially even though a lot of the symptoms vary from person to person. And he, like you said, he went off some medication for his farewell concert. And no, I just hope that did not impact him with this and hasten his death here. And, you sort of feel, especially if you've had people in your life that have gone through a real chronic illness, right? Towards the end, it's like sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. And, I've been on both sides of the grieving process with that. And I just, he was one of those folks, whether you liked him or hated him or whatever, he appeared to try to accomplish something. He did what he set out to do. A lot against him. And what really is important, and what I'm going to say this, is he had a good wife, or has a good wife. I don't know how you would even say that. And a loving family. Right? Sharon Osbourne, if it weren't for her, I doubt that he would have been as successful as he was. Especially when his popularity started to wane, right, in the 90s, late 80s. Right? I don't think that he would have been as popular and as successful as he was if it weren't for his wife. So I want to offer our condolences here at Safety Wars to the family. Now, we're going to tie this into safety, except in a way that you don't expect. We're all familiar, if you're a regular listener, to the 5 principles of human organizational performance. And one of those principles is your reaction to news, whether it's good or bad, matters. Your reaction matters. And you can say, well, where are you going with this? Ozzy was, we had in middle school, I went to a religious middle school, no longer there, Our Redeemer Lutheran School in Fords, New Jersey. And this was early 80s. I was there 82, 83, and 84. And this was the height of the rock music is satanic thing that we all remember, right, if you were alive back then. Then you also had the ministers and priests that had the record players that played backwards. And I was watching an old Chips episode, and they had an episode on that where people would have a vinyl record, they put it on the turntable, and they go backwards with it. And, now it's a sound effect for some styles of music. But then, we play it backwards, and this is what we heard. We heard this, blah, 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 and, oh, no, it's satanic. Anyway, you had, in the late 60s, you had a lot of folks that went to college. They went to the college. They were the baby boomers, and maybe they were on the GI Bill after World War II, Korea, and the Vietnam War. And what happens at college? You're exposed to all different types of things. You're right, all different types of philosophies. A lot of people who grew up in a religious household, Christian household, let's say, not necessarily Christian, but that's my context here, right? They go to college, and what do you hear from a lot of professors? You hear, all different negative things about Christianity, and a lot of people fall away from the faith, right? According to my minister, the percentage, according to what he's read, the percentage of people that go back to church is the same of every generation. However, we had a smaller generation with Gen X. Right? We talked about demography here and demographics, so you can check it out. And that has led a lot of the way to the church. Attendance being down, not only Christianity, but many other faiths. Some other faiths it's increased. And the reaction to a lot of the rock music, Ozzy Osbourne being one of them, one of the performers, one of the musicians, looking back, their reaction of the people in charge, your teachers, your ministers, your parents, and everything, was not enough to counteract what was going on elsewhere in society. Because what happened? You go to school, you're educated. You learn to read, you learn to write, and everything else. You're coming out from generations, especially in the church, they're used to doing things one way. So they're doing things one way in the church. Hey, this is the way it's always been. The big thing was in the early 80s, Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod and ELCA, or the forerunner of the ELCA, they tried to come out with one hymnal. There was a big thing, well, those hymns aren't good, that hymn isn't good, well, those are traditional, those aren't traditional. Going back, now where am I going with this? Their reaction to the changing times led to the demise of a lot of Western Christianity. My read on this, I went through this, just like a lot of you. Hopefully I'm articulating what other people here have experienced. So you have the demise of Western Christianity not because of Ozzy Osbourne, not because of all these other quote-unquote satanic people in the 1980s and 70s, rock and roll and everything. You could go back and Google it and find out all about it. You have that situation happening because the church never kept with the times. I'm not saying change the tenets of the church. I'm not saying change their church doctrine. They had to have a response. Maybe they need, and a lot of the churches that embraced, right, the way new things going on, technology. There's one Lutheran church, St. Paul in Monroe, New York. I tell you what, for a Lutheran church, Missouri Synod, they have 360. Go and check it out. My own home congregation, Atonement Lutheran Church in Stony Point. We have Zoom church. Very well attended every week. They embrace. Those are the churches that are growing. They have new approaches to things. Hey, we're going to approach it this way. We're going to explain the gospel this way. That's how you keep up to date. That's not what they were doing back in the early 80s, where there was no response to any of this, for lack of a better word, liberalism or what have you, in that you would get out, or a liberal arts education that you would get out of the universities. No response. So how does this apply to safety? How many organizations are out there that are still kicking around, like on our commercial, one of our commercials, it says 25-year-old baloney. They've never updated. How many training organizations, I'm not going to name them, have 25 or 30-year-old PowerPoint presentations and manuals to do 40-hour ASWABer training? A ton of them. How about EM385 training? I took one of the courses online. I was forced to take one. Well, guess what? In the review, I said, I now understand why people are psychologically damaged here. Taking this stuff because I feel psychologically damaged. It was hell. So get a live training person like me to do your training. Or somebody who could put together something that's a little bit more exciting, which we do here. Right? Just finished a training video for another client. But what's my point? You got to adapt to the times. Keep your adapt with the times. We don't want to get anybody hurt, but if we're going around here with the warped behavior-based safety, we have to report all injuries. We got to report them. But when you report them, we're going to get it. We're going to get you. Yeah. You know what? I had a problem with blah blah blah. This road. You broke it? No. I didn't say I broke it. It broke. I mean, no. You broke it? Well, guess what? Now the guy's not going to report when something's broken. How about somebody not wearing a hard hat on the job for a reason? Guy forgot. That we're the only ones, you may be the only ones that enforce that. Well, guess what? There's a guy, hey, rather than saying, hey, go put on your hard hat. Hey, dude, what's going on with that? And maybe you take the person on the side and say to him, hey, perhaps, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you wearing a hard hat? You don't say it in front of a whole shitload of people. Well, shame on you. Well, how many safety professionals do you know do that? That's not the approach that you have to take. This adversarial, I got you approach. All that stuff goes in there. Now, going back to Ozzy, this is how it was. You are listening to the devil's music. You're going to burn in hell. Yeah, but I believe in God. I believe in it, right? And I'll go through. I want to convert. But you're still going to burn in hell. And by the way, as you get older, and now I have a minister about my age who went through a lot of the same things, right, with this, he's able to say, look, it's not that hard. This is what it is, right? This is what the gospel is. This is what, well, I tell you what, had someone like him been in the church back in the 80s as a minister, he was my age, right? Explaining things like, maybe we wouldn't have had that situation happen. We'd have membership, an increased membership. Maybe if they thought of a way of approaching the children rather than say, you're all going to burn in hell, that's the same equivalent as, you're going to get hurt, right? They would have been more successful. And that's what we have to work on in our organizations here. Be more successful. Go towards success. Use those 5 principles of human organizational performance. Listen to our, I forget how many, it's like 17 podcasts here on the Safety FM network. All that stuff. So that's what I'm encouraging everybody to do, is to learn something here, right, from the history of this. Oh, yeah, come to think of it. Or they actually shut down the church. They actually had I believe it was a Sunday afternoon, right? Everybody come to church. And we're going to show that Led Zeppelin critical movie. That I even forget the name of it. It's not even worth mentioning the name of it. Where they went through how Led Zeppelin was going to, you listen to your kids learn to listen to rock music, Led Zeppelin, they're all going to go to hell. Right? And what happened? The children, most of them rejected it. Said, you guys are a bunch of idiots. Does that happen to your organization with safety? Oh, you're going to do it. Yeah, no, I'm baffled. And in 2025, we still have to deal with these. I am. But because I read Jay Allen's book, I have a better understanding of doing that. Safety Transmission Trilogy by Jay Allen. You can get it on Amazon. That's all I got. And rest in peace, Ozzy. With that, and I hope, like your song said, Mama, I'm coming home. I hope you came home on that. And, I hope to meet you one day in eternity. And that's the way it is, the way it goes with that. So let's take a commercial break, and we'll be back with you.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Masks on faces, no room for complacency. Air ain't free, got rules explicitly. 29 CFR, the code to live. Breath-free protection, OSHA directive. Regulating lungs, safeguard the breath. Respiratory shield, fending off death. Respect the air, comply with the creed. 29 CFR, for the life we need. Filter tight, no gaps or faults. Night shift grind, a 9 to 5 hustle. Contaminants lurk unseen, unknown. OSHA's guiding us, never alone. Half mask, full face, get the fit test. Seal like gold, protect the nest. Airborne hazards, left in the dust. 29 CFR and standards we trust. Path of life, regulations uphold. No shortcuts, straight guidelines unfold. Disposable or reuse, choices laid out. Breathing safe without.
Okay, we are back.
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
The safety war has begun.
The risks are out there, lurking in every corner of the workplace, threatening our most valuable asset, our people. But we have a plan. Led by Jim Posel, we are the last line of defense in this battle against danger and negligence. We will fight for safety, for compliance, for the right of every worker to return home unscathed. Join us on this journey through the unknown, where vigilance is our weapon and knowledge is our shield. This is Safety Wars, our fight, our duty, our mission. Heard regularly on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars, visit us at safetywars.com.
So we are back here with Safety Wars. We covered this story back in December. So this was out of December. Repeated failures add to a home improvement company's OSHA. They get added to OSHA's severe violator list. Federal workplace safety officials have again cited a Newark construction contractor for repeatedly violating U.S. Department of Labor safety requirements at 3 North Jersey work sites, exposing employees to falls from elevations, the construction industry's leading cause of death and serious injuries. The department's OSHA inspected a RRC work site in Dover in June 2024 after receiving reports of employees working on a roof without fall protection. A month later, after warning the company about the hazard, OSHA inspectors opened inspections at 2 other work sites in Lodi, L-O-D-I, right? Lodi, New Jersey. That's where my Aunt Sophie lives. Right? Immaculate Conception Convent. But in July 2024, as a part of the agency's National Emphasis Program for Falls in Construction. Again, inspectors observed employees working without required fall protection. The inspections also uncovered violations involving lack of hard hats, eye protection, and fire extinguishers, as well as a non-compliant pump jack, scaffold poles, and unsafe ladder use. Following the 3 inspections, OSHA cited the company $338,000. Failing to provide, this is from OSHA Area Director Lisa Levy in Hasbrook Heights, actually a very nice woman, I met her a couple of times. Failing to provide and use fall protection when working at elevation, in this case on rooftops, is a disaster waiting to happen. Despite being cited multiple times since 2017, the company continues to disregard critical safety standards, putting workers at grave risk. Falls remain the leading cause of fatalities and serious injuries in the construction industry, making this repeated negligence unacceptable. And then it goes on with that. Now, we have an update here. U.S. Department of Labor Newark roofing contractor reached settlement agreement after affirming a $155,000 penalty for multiple violations. The U.S. Department, this is from today, U.S. Department of Labor and Newark Roofing Company have reached a settlement agreement resolving litigation stemming from investigations last summer that found the employer repeatedly exposed workers to fall and safety hazards at 2 work sites. So they contested everything, and this was the end result. The department's OSHA initially investigated the company in June 2024 at a work site in Dover, New Jersey, after receiving reports of employees working on a roof without fall protection. In July, investigations happened in Lodi, as you just explained, and they had a non-compliant pump jack scaffold pole and unsafe ladder use. Settlement agreement between OSHA and the company affirms the citations issued, which included 4 willful and 7 serious. The company also agreed to pay a $155,000 penalty. As part of the settlement, the company agreed to implement enhanced abatement measures, including reporting all job sites to OSHA before commencing work and providing OSHA a written site-specific fall protection for the work site, including certifications that all employees have completed a fall protection course. So this shows a different approach that the Trump administration is using. Compliance assistance, not compliance enforcement so much. So they reduced the fines, so they contested this. They reduced the fine considerably, but now they have to issue a plan and notification to OSHA for every project they're on, right? Now you're going to say, well, Jim, that's bad. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, now, OSHA, 1-800, and I'm sure they have a direct line to someone, 1-800-321-OSHA. We're going to be working at 123 Oak Street in anywhere in USA, New Jersey. Okay, great. And I also sent over the fall protection plan. Okay, great, thanks. Well, you're supposed to have a fall protection plan to begin with. So they're really not asking them to do more than what the regulation is doing, except for notifying them of the job, of what's going on. So, again, a different approach to doing this. So this is what happened here. Investigation summary. Employee suffers fatal asphyxiation in permit required confined space. At approximately 9:34 on January 10th, an employee was directed to enter a 23,737-gallon rail tank car containing residues of PCBs and transformer oil to obtain wipe samples of the interior surfaces. So this is under the PCB mega rule, where they were doing the sampling here, and then that gets sent out there. All right, the rail tank car was a permit-required confined space. The employee wore a full-face air-purifying respirator, chemical protective suit, boots, and gloves. Shortly after descending the temporary ladder to the tank bottom, the employee slowed, then fell forward and became unresponsive at the base of the ladder. Prior to entry, the tank car had not been mechanically ventilated. Atmospheric monitoring was insufficient and not performed during entry, and non-entry rescue systems were inadequate. The tripod lacked a mechanical winch or lifeline. The entrant was not wearing a full-body rescue harness. Oxygen levels inside the tank were as low as 5%, resulting in a fatal asphyxiation. So that was a fatality here, right, with that. So, right. So here we have $602,000 in penalties with that, and that's initial, that'll be negotiated downward. Not so much, because that company is a very large company. I don't think that's going to be negotiated downward too much. Again, what the hell's going on? I mean, really? United States announced the successful resolution of rapid response labor mechanism matter at Modern Metal Alloys. United States today announced the successful resolution of USMCA rapid response labor mechanism matter at a Modern Metal Alloys company located in Querétaro, Mexico. The U.S. has resumed liquidation of tariffs on goods from the MMA facility, which manufactures aluminum for the production of auto parts. The resolution is another win for the Trump administration, whose America First approach ensures their trade partners do not undermine worker protections to gain an unfair trade advantage or attract investment. The Mexican government, the Department of Labor's Bureau of International Labor Affairs, and the U.S. Office of the U.S. Trade Representative facilitated a resolution with MMA to remediate workers' claims. Actions were taken by the facility to address the matter include offering reinstatement with back pay and providing full severance to one worker who had been dismissed in retaliation for his union activity, restoring workers to prior work assignments held before they were reassigned in retaliation for union activity, granting the union holding the certificate of representation access to the company's facility, negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement with the union holding the certificate, adopting, disseminating, and implementing a neutrality statement and company guidelines on freedom of association and collective bargaining, including a zero-tolerance policy for violations, and training all company personnel on the neutrality commitments and company guidelines, providing a complaint mechanism for workers to anonymously report any violations of their rights and breaches of a company guidelines on freedom of association and collective bargaining. Actions taken by the government of Mexico include to address delivery of in-person training for all personnel on freedom of association, collective bargaining, offering an email address for workers to anonymously report intimidation, coercion, etc. In relation to their union activities, monitoring the facility and engaging with workers and the work company throughout its review period. Based on these measures, U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Greer has directed the Secretary of the Treasury to resume liquidation of unliquidated entries of goods from the facility. The RRM, developed under the first Trump administration, is an unprecedented trade tool that helps us level the playing field with that. So, Mexico is going to be reviewing this and some remedial steps. So, again, leveling the playing field. That's a good thing. Now, here's some other stuff. This is from the Politico from last week. EPA moves ahead with reorganization. The moves are the latest part of the Trump administration's ambitious reorganization workforce reduction program. The EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin on Thursday took new steps to reshape and shrink the agency now that the Supreme Court has cleared the way for mass firings and reorganizations. The company has, the agency announced that it will consolidate its finance and administrative offices into one entity while making other structural changes to its enforcement and Superfund offices. I'd be interested in what those are. The latest reorganizations comes after EPA announced plans to shutter its research branch and move some of those workers to other offices. Meanwhile, the agency is shedding thousands of workers through buyouts and early retirements and potentially in the future layoffs. So, now, the EPA, I believe, has a press release on here. Hopefully this will work better than the OSHA website. So here we have, right here, this was from the day after, EPA announces a reduction in force reorganization efforts to save taxpayers nearly $750 million. Today, the U.S. EPA announced a reduction in force as necessary as the agency continues its comprehensive restructuring efforts with organizational improvements, delivering $748.8 million in savings. This RIF will impact the Office of Research and Development. EPA previously announced the extensive enhancement of scientific expertise and research efforts within program offices to tackle statutory applications, mission essential functions. So they're sending people from a research arm back into the offices. This includes the addition of agency laboratory functions and hundreds of scientific, technical, bioinformatic, and information technology experts, EPA's air, water, and chemical offices, on top of the thousands of scientists and engineers employed by the EPA within those program offices. In addition, the agency is forging ahead with the creation of the new Office of Applied Science and Environmental Solutions, which will allow EPA to prioritize research and science more than ever and put it at the forefront of rulemaking and technical assistance to the states. According to Administrator Lee Zeldin, quote, under President Trump's leadership, EPA has taken a close look at our operations to ensure the agency is better equipped than ever to deliver on our core mission of protecting human health and the environment while powering the great American comeback. This reduction in force will ensure that we can better fulfill that mission while being responsible stewards of your hard-earned tax dollars. In January 2025, EPA had 16,155 employees. Combined with voluntary requirements, separations, and other announced reductions in force, EPA will have a workforce of 12,448 employees. This includes 30,201 applications received for fork-in-the-road deferred resignation program and voluntary early retirement. This year, EPA announced the termination of the Biden-Harris Administration Environmental Justice and Diversity, Equity, Inclusion arms of the agency. In doing so, EPA conducted a reduction in force of 280 DEI and EJ employees and transferred 195 employees to perform statutory obligations and mission essential functions to other offices. So, wow. So this is again from last week. Why they didn't update this from last week, I have no idea. People must be on vacation. Today, the U.S. EPA and the Ohio Lake Erie Commission opened registration for the 2025 Areas of Concern Cross-Agency Partnership Summit, which will be held September 16th to 18th at the Glass City Center in Toledo, Ohio. The 3-day meeting is open to government officials, businesses, industries, and universities, and other interested community members working toward restoring the Great Lakes Area of Concern. AOC. The program allows partners to network, participate in engaging program planning sessions, take field trips, and contribute to long-term success of the AOC program. The United States-Canada Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement defines an AOC as a location, that's area of concern, as a location that has experienced environmental degradation where significant impairment of beneficial uses has occurred as a result of human activities at the local level. EPA and other federal and state agencies are working to restore 25 remaining U.S. AOCs in the Great Lakes Basin. Right, and there's a registration thing for the website. Chemical Safety Board. We don't talk a lot about that, but they released, again, I have to question, right, with all these cuts and we had a riff at the EPA and everything, these agencies have been doing a lot of self-promotion, and I think this was all part of this. And I'm going to say this, they should continue to do self-promotion here. The U.S. Chemical Safety Board releases Volume 3 of Chemical Incident Report incidents resulted in $1.8 billion in property damage. Reports cover 30 serious chemical incidents in 15 states, including Maine, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. Today, the U.S. Chemical Safety Board, U.S. Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board, CSB, announced that it has released Volume 3 of its incident reports. We're going to be going through some of these as we're able to here. So let's click on, third volume. Again, they got to be promoting themselves as being that they're worth something. There's been some talk of moving them over to saying that they're doing redundant work, but not really. OSHA does not really, I don't want to say they don't have the expertise, but they don't have the resources to do these investigations. And like, these folks are like me and everything. They like to sit down, they like to generate data and everything else. So here we have one in J, Maine from April 15, 2020. At approximately April 15th, tax day, and also the anniversary of the Titanic sinking and the passage of the Federal Reserve Act, I believe. At approximately 12 p.m., a 260,000-gallon pressure vessel exploded at the Pixel Specialty Solutions paper mill in J, Maine. The explosion caused an estimated $350 million in property damage, and the incident ultimately resulted in permanent closure of the paper mill. Now, I'll point out to you folks here that OSHA, I'm sure people got hurt here. I will read through here, but people didn't get hurt. OSHA's not going to do a follow-up necessarily. Pixel purchased the paper mill on had owned it for 66 days before the incident. Shortly after noon on the day of the incident, many of the roughly 170 employees and contractors present at the paper mill at that time were on lunch break when a 166-foot tall pressure vessel exploded, erupting, and much of its approximately 260,000 gallons of hot corrosive chemicals and wood fibers into the air. The vessel, a pulp digester, was operating at pressure of approximately 160 psi and a temperature above 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Pictures here are awesome. Here, and going on, Pixel's investigation found the digester failed while operating within the normal pressure and temperature range. Now, you're going to say, well, Jim, and this is a libertarian argument, the company has in its best interest to prevent this stuff from happening and do their own investigation. Why do we need the government doing it? Because somebody had to respond to this, number one. And number two, this is in the middle of your community. You want to make sure that things are in there, are doing right. The other thing is, like Jay Allen's book says, signal transmission. The company will only take what the company is willing to accept during one of these accident investigations and other comments. If it's not what they want to hear, they're not going to pursue it. So somebody here, found that a digester failed within normal temperature pressures. The company's metallurgical examination revealed that the pressure vessel failed along a weld seam joining two sections of a carbon steel plate and a shell. Extensive pre-existing cracks were found throughout the area where the digester failed. These cracks were caused by caustic stress corrosion cracking, a damage mechanism known to occur. Cracking was located around the weld fusion lines and weld heat affected zones. So this thing had been operating for 36 plus 20, 56 years. The failure. What were the inspection stuff? Right. Pixel's investigation had identified many pre-existing cracks in digest and near welds with high metal hardness. The company concluded that these welds were from vessel repairs where the heat was not controlled during or after the welding from poor welding practices. And I'm going to say this. I don't know if this happened at this facility, but quality control is a real big thing on all of my projects now. What the project I'm on now, the quality control guy basically runs everything, right? With everything. Does the new operations, but I tell you what, with the documentation is ridiculous what they do. Same thing in the painting industry. The quality control person really runs the show. With that, well, hey, you didn't meet the quality control. You got to redo it. You got to do this. You're not meeting the quality control. All that goes into that. Right? The failure initiating crack was found to have reached roughly 70% of the vessel wall's thickness. At that point, the normal operating temperature pressure stretched the remaining metal to fail, initiating the explosion as the crack propagated throughout the wall. The digester was last inspected in September 2019, 7 months before the incident. Pixel concluded that previous inspection should have identified and repaired the pre-existing cracks. So here's the question. What were the incentives as a HOP practitioner? Now, you're a HOP person. Human Organizational Performance. What was the incentive? What happened here? What was the context? Why did this happen? Let's go further down into this, right? And the probable cause that from the CSB was the facility's mechanical integrity program lacked effective inspection and weld repair practices contributing to the incident. Wow. So that was basically it where they went. I mean, this is catastrophic. And these seem like this is like 70 pages long, 67 pages. And this is Chevron Refinery, PBF Energy, Silver Eagle, Accident, Tyson Foods. That was with the nitrogen, and I'm sorry, toxic anhydrous ammonia vapor. Going on and on and on. With this. So, yeah, we're going to go through this. I mean, this is probably going to be, we'll make a couple of videos on here with this here. And some of these stories we covered here on this show. So it'll be a good follow-up here when they happen at the time. Oh, how many more minutes do we have? We have about 4 minutes. U.S. Chemical Safety Board urges chemical facilities to take action now to prevent catastrophic chemical incidents during hurricane season. This is from July 2nd. All right, so doing their thing. So there's a U.S. Chemical Safety Board launches an investigation into toxic chemical releases at Austin powder facilities in Ohio and Texas. Ohio and Tennessee. This is from June 24th. And again, no, when they were mentioning cuts, they said we still have a lot of incidents we're investigating here. And what's this? I left things open from last program here. This is from ntsb.gov here. I came across this is the update of all of the data with East Palestine. I mean, we're going to go and look into this also. Here we have these CSB website current investigations they have opened. So this one was Austin Powders. I want to say Austin Powers. Austin Powders and U.S. Nitrogen. Here from the 11th of June of this year. Shell Polymers from this 4th of June. Givaudan Sense Color Explosion. Believe it, we talked about my church earlier today. The one of the former heads of health and safety for Givaudan this is part of Givaudan, the same Givaudan, was a Sunday school teacher, Andy Stofa, CIH out of Metuchen, New Jersey. Shell Polymers Vonica chemical release on the 4th, Givaudan. They got a lot of stuff going on here. Now, the thing is, these investigations, they are worth it. In my opinion, they're worth it. So, and I think the administration would not be the best thing to shut down the CSB, because I don't think the OSHA would be able to manage this. And that's no insult to OSHA. They're just not equipped unless we move all the CSB people over to OSHA. Okay, let them continue to do their thing over there. All right. I think there is a couple of study finds that I want to go into here. So, studyfinds.org. Here you go. COVID-19 pandemic age range by 5.5 months. Even if you were never infected, study says. Right? What an interesting graphic here. You have a brain with a COVID virus in it. Nottingham, England. Brain scans from nearly 1,000 British adults reveal the pandemic has accelerated aging in the brain by an average of 5.5 months, regardless of whether people contracted COVID-19 or not. Males and people from disadvantaged backgrounds showed the most dramatic changes. I tell you what, I'm willing to believe this because I know people who never recovered from COVID mentally, emotionally. So this might have some truth to it, right? New research published in Nature Communications shows the broader pandemic experience, meaning lockdowns, social isolation, economic stress, and health anxiety, left measurable marks on brain structure that mirror the effects of aging. Wow. Using artificial intelligence to predict brain age based on hundreds of imaging features, they found that a pandemic-exposed brains looked significantly older than expected here. So, I don't know. We'll see. It seems like new technology. We'll find out on this in the long term. Here's another one from, this hits near and dear to my heart. From painkillers to antibiotics, 5 medicines that could cause hearing loss or tinnitus. Here, with that. So, when we think about side effects of medicines, we might think of nausea, fatigue, or dizziness, but there's another lesser-known risk that can have a lasting effect, sometimes permanent consequences: hearing loss. Well, first of all, tinnitus is not necessarily from hearing loss, right? It's a neurological thing. A wide range of prescription and over-the-counter drugs are known to be ototoxic, meaning they can damage the inner ear and affect hearing or balance. Right? So, they mentioned tinnitus, hearing loss, dizziness, and everything. So what are those 5 things? Antibiotics. I'm not going to mention those. Again, see your doctor on this. Number 2, heart medications. I will attest to that. Certain heart medications with that. Chemotherapy, we know that. Painkillers, right? Like ibuprofen, naproxen, aspirin, I would say. I got one from aspirin. Anti-malarial drugs. Chloroquine and quinine used to treat malaria and leg cramps can cause irreversible hearing loss and tinnitus. And some other things, right, as well. So, things with that, side effects. If you could cure things without medication, please do it. That's my advice. But see your doctor. Have your doctor work with you. Most doctors are willing to work with people, in my experience. And that's all I got for tonight. So, for Safety Wars, this is Jim Polzel. Is there safety training? Oh, wrong one. Sorry.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.